Welcome, everyone. I'm going to make an announcement now, and I will repeat it later when more people come on. But the next 3 weeks, there will be no class. On Tuesdays, there will be a class on Sunday. Many of you follow the class on Sunday. There will be classes on Sunday. But on the next 3 weeks, we're going to attempt a vacation. So much needed vacation. And so it turns out that I began these classes pretty much a year ago for Rosh Chodesh Elul. And this coming Sunday is Rosh Chodesh Elul. So it's a full year. And so for the next 3 weeks, there will not be classes, and then we will begin again. You will get notifications from Gali Nai and also from Or Chadash. But I believe I'm going to change the subject as well, because we've done a whole year of the holidays and the months. So I'm feeling that it's time for something new. I can't tell you exactly what yet. I'm hoping we're going to Tzfat, Yira Kodesh, and I'm hoping to be inspired to what will be for the next year. So again, on Sundays, there will be classes. Okay. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to take one of the most important concepts taught by the Alter Rebbe, and we're going to apply it in 3 different ways to the coming month of Elul, followed by the holidays of Tishrei. And that concept it's a very simple concept, but the ramifications are so wide. The idea of living with the times. The Alter Rebbe gave over this idea, and it was understood and is still understood, meaning that we should always see what's happening in our own lives and in the life of the world, in the reality of the world, according to the Torah portion of the week, and also the holiday that is coming, because almost every month has some kind of holiday or significant event. And so living with the times means to connect to that energy and to apply it to ourselves. Every parsha in the Torah, to take it and look at what's happening in our own lives and what's happening around the world. And people who do this, I can't say it happens like every day, all the time, but usually there's always some incredible revelation about what's happening in our own life, or the politics of the world, or the news of the world, as applies to the Parsha. So we're going to take this concept of living with the times, and we're going to look at it from 3 different angles, all related to Elul and the coming holidays of Tishrei. And I'm doing this especially because I'm not going to be teaching for the next 3 weeks. And after that, as I said, we will probably be changing subjects. So I wanted to try, in a sense, to get as much in as we could. So we're going to start with connecting this time of year to the Parshiot. And we have really an amazing continuum of Parshiot that give us instruction of how to get the most out of this time of year, the introspection of Elul, the tshuva of Elul, the preparation for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Hoshana Rabbah, Shmini Atzeret, Simchat Torah. And so we're going to go back. This parsha is Parshat Re'eh. We're going to go back 1 week to Ekev. Now, Rosh Chodesh Elul will always come right before or right after Parshat Re'eh. But if we go back 1 week, it's Ekev. V'haya Ekev Tishma'un. And it will be if you listen. And then it says that the bracha that you'll get is if you listen to God and do the mitzvot. And the opposite will be if you don't listen to God and you turn to other gods. Then what we'll call the klala, the curse will come upon you. But everyone points out the word ekev, v'haya ekev tishma'un, is not a kind of like a normal word to use in this kind of grammatical situation. So everyone makes drushes on it that the word ekev comes from the word heel, the heel of the foot. So we know that the time before Mashiach comes is called Iklika de Mashiach, the footsteps of the Mashiach. So when Parshat Ekev comes, and we discussed this last week already from Tu B'Av, we can be saying L'shana Tova Kativa V'chatima Tova, wishing each other a good year and a good inscription and sealing in the book of life. So we can interpret V'haya Ekev Tishma'un, and it will be when you hear. Can you hear the new year coming? Can you hear the footsteps of a new year coming? That was last week already. And because already it was Tu B'Av, and our whole class last week was about this idea that from Tu B'Av, even from Tisha B'Av, the seed of the new year is already being planted. This week's parsha is Ra'eh. Ra'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha uklala. Look, see, I am putting before you today a blessing and a curse. So this is always right around Rosh Chodesh Elul. And so what we're being told is, everyone, open your eyes. A new year is coming, and God is putting in front of us a blessing and a curse. And as it will say in a couple of weeks in the Torah, "Uvacharta b'chaim," you should choose life. In other words, as we start the month of Elul, the choices are in front of us. The choice to do tshuva, the choice to use the time of Elul to look at our lives, or we could not look and just be oblivious to living with the times. So that's Parsha Re'eh. The beginning of Elul is open your eyes. A new year is coming, and each person has to own up and take responsibility for their lives. The judgment that comes down in Rosh Hashanah is mostly based on our input into the judgment. The following week is Parshat Shoftim, Judges. Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'chol sha'arecha. Put judges and enforcers of the law in all of your gates. So this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing during Chodesh Elul, is judging ourselves. And it's brought down in Chassidut that if a person takes advantage of the month of Elul and does the work of tshuva and introspection and being honest with oneself and trying to fix things and rectify things and make the proper changes, that as it were, there's not much for the heavenly court to do. Because in a sense, we already executed our own judgment for the good, So that's the idea of put judges and the enforcers of law. This is a very, very important thing, is that so many of us make New Year's resolutions, and we mean well, and we really mean to change But the question is, where are the enforcers? Do we set up a program, a system to actually implement the New Year's resolutions? In other words, a person could make a resolution, I have to exercise more. I just am not exercising enough. This is one example. And yes, I'm going to do it. I know how important it is. But the next step is, okay, these days I'm going to the gym, or these days I'm riding my bike, or these days I'm running or speed walking, and I'm going to stick to it, and I start doing it. Those are the enforcers. So shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'chol shorecha. And it's brought down in Chassidut in all of your gates. So it's brought down that the face has 7 gates: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and 1 mouth. These are the gates of perception. These are the gates into the soul. This is how the soul sees and hears and smells and speaks. These are called the levushim of the soul: thought, speech, and action. And they're coming through what are called the gates of the face. So that's Parshat Shoftim. Then we get to Ki tetzei lemelchama al oivecha. When you go to war against your enemy. Again, it's talking about physical enemies, real wars. But of course, in Chassidut, it explains this is talking to each individual. And during the month of Elul, if we want to do tshuva, it's not a simple process. Sometimes it's going to war. Who is our enemy? The Yetzer Hara. That negative voice in our head saying, you can't change. You've tried to change, it didn't work. You'll never amount to anything. You failed 100 times. Why try again? Just take it easy. So that's when you go to war against your enemy. In other words, to make real changes in life is like a battle. And so we go to war with the intention of winning. And it says, after that, it says that God will give over your enemy into your hands. But that's if we go to war. If we don't go to war, then there's no enemy to be given over in our hands. So we have to take the first step towards change. I mean, like sometimes we have to pray to Hashem for the strength to change. That's more than legitimate. We all need that strength. But ultimately, we have to take the step. With all the help that God will give us, still, we have to take the step. The next parsha, we're getting closer to Rosh Hashanah now, is V'haya ki tavo el haaretz. And it will be when you come into the land. So we're told that when a parsha begins with the word V'haya, it's Lashon Simcha. And here it's talking about coming into the land of Israel. V'haya ki tavo el haaretz. When you come into the land. So this is so important. We're getting towards Rosh Hashanah. Let's say we've opened our eyes in Ra'eh. We started judging ourselves. We put policemen on ourselves. We go to war against our enemy. But this parsha is telling us something very important. What about Simcha? We can't lose track, even if we're at war with our Yetzer, we can't lose track of doing it with a sense of Simcha. And I don't know about anyone else. I grew up in somewhere between a Reform and conservative upbringing. And when I think of my experiences as a young child and as a teenager of going to shul on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the word that comes to my mind is somber. it was like this heavy energy. Now, don't get me wrong, Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur is called the days of awe. There's no doubt it's serious business. Our lives are on the line. But I remember it as being like heavy, somber, sad. Anyone who's been in a Hasidic community for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it's no less serious, but it's full of joy. And the nigunim and the nusach it's so elevated, so inspiring. And like on Yom Kippur, we talked about this with Tu B'Av. The Mishnah says there were no 2 days as joyous in the Jewish year as Tu B'Av and Yom Kippur. We're fasting, we're not eating, we're in shul all day, but we're getting atonement. We're getting cleansed. We're being forgiven. Like, what joy. So before Rosh Hashanah, don't forget to hold on to Simcha. And then the week before Rosh Hashanah, it's always Parshat Nitzavim. Tem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem Lifnei Hashem Elokecha. And you are standing today, all of you, before Hashem, your God. This is what we always read before Rosh Hashanah. And this is, the Zohar says, this is talking about Rosh Hashanah. What's the Hayom? What's the today? You are standing today, all of you before God. Now, the truth is, every day we stand before God. Every day. And in the Torah, this was the last day of Moshe's life. This was Zayin Adar. Nonetheless, the Zohar says this verse is talking about Rosh Hashanah. Because that's when a person has the most awareness of standing before God. Again, we can experience it anytime, but there is something about Rosh Hashanah of feeling that we are standing before God. So that's the parsha we always read before. So we could see that the flow of parshiyot, it's like instruction of how to enter into a new year. So one of the meanings of kulchem, you are standing, all of you, today. So all of you, the simple meaning is all of Israel. And on Rosh Hashanah, even in our prayers, we say the whole world passes before God. So that's the kulchem, all of you. But another interpretation is it's talking to each individual. When you stand before God on Rosh Hashanah, it has to be all of you. Not 80%, not 90%, but 100% of you has to be aware and present before God. Okay, so that was our first idea of living with the times. Now, I'm not sure we're going to get to all three. So I'm going to go to the other one, which is a longer one. And that is cycles of time. Our whole Jewish lifestyle is based on being aware of cycles of time. The most basic one is we work for 6 days and it's Shabbos. This is the cycle that we live within. This is the context of a Jewish life. Then we have, that's in days. In weeks, we have the 7 weeks of counting the Omer, where we literally count the days for 7 weeks. We're aware that we're in a 7-week cycle. Then there's a cycle of months. The 3 pilgrimage holidays, Aliyat Regel, all happen within the first 7 months of the year. Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot is all in the first 7 months of the year. That is a cycle in itself also. Here in Eretz Yisrael, in another 5 weeks is Shemitah. This is also in Eretz Yisrael, there's just like 6 days you work and the 7th you rest. In Eretz Yisrael, there is a cycle that is, it's alive, it's real. You work the land for 6 years, and the 7th you rest. And I know that very, very well because I have a very, very extensive yard. And I'm out there every day now doing things that I would spread out, but I have to get them done before Shemitah because you can't do them during Shemitah. You can't plant during Shemitah, you can't prune during Shemitah, can't fertilize during Shemitah, you can't dig, all these kind of things. So you have to do it now. So I'm just saying that this is a living cycle. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to have to do it fairly quickly. But right now, I'm going to count. There are 9 different cycles of time between now and the end of Simchas Torah. And each one is important, and each one has great meaning when we are aware of it and bring it into our consciousness. So 2 of them we did already last week, and I'll just review very quickly, is that we talked about this idea of 45 days before Rosh Hashanah is Tu B'Av, and that the word of thought is choshev ma, thinking of essence. Ma is what or essence, and we brought the tradition that when God wanted to create the world, the thought of Israel arose first. And so from Tu B'Av to Chav Hei Elul, which is the first day of creation, is 40 days. And for those who were here last week, remember that this is connected to the tradition that when a soul is about to come in the world, 40 days before the formation of the fetus, a bat call, a voice from heaven, calls out, this one is meant for this one, as far as marriage. And so we learned that on Tu B'Av till Chav Hei Elul, on Tu B'Av is 40 days before the creation of the world. And we learned that when God wanted to create the world, the thought of Israel arose first. So what it means is Israel and Hashem are soulmates. God is calling out to us on Tu B'Av. Remember, Tu B'Av is when couples got together, when the young women went out to the vineyards and danced, and men came and shidduchim were made. So the greatest shidduch is HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Am Yisrael. So that's a 40-day period from Tu B'Av till Chav Hei Elul. And then we learned that until Rosh Hashanah, there are 45 days. And that is for Choshev Ma. God was thinking of the essence. Already on Tu B'Av, God is thinking of the essence. So the important thing of this is that already the energy of the new year is happening. That's what we do in the Parsha. Already in Ekev, last week's Parsha, can you hear the new year coming? So we're already in this 40 and 45 day period where part of the introspection is for each one of us to go very deep in our neshama and connect to our, what's called the shoresh neshama, the root of our soul, and to connect in a primordial way. So that's why this time period is like, as it were, pre-creation. But the soul comes from pre-creation, because the soul is a actual part of God above. And so that's one of the deepest tshuvas that we can do during this time period, is to really contemplate the shoresh of our neshama as a part of God above. Now, there's another, we mentioned already that there's a 7-week period of counting the Omer, but we're also in another 7-week period right now. And this is because for 7 straight weeks, starting with the Haftarah of Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, console, console my people, which we read after Tisha B'Av. For 7 weeks, the Haftarah, each week is a Haftarah of consolation, hope, optimism, and it's very important to connect to this, because after Tisha B'Av, the sages set these 7 weeks that we should feel the consolation. So all of these time periods, I'm going to be adding more now, they're all happening and some are overlapping, but each one has a meaning to it. Each one can inspire us, and each one grounds us in the time, living with the times. So this is a time of consolation. But if we're not aware that we're in that cycle, we don't really feel it. But if we're aware that we're in the cycle of consolation, then it has meaning to us. Then on Rosh Chodesh Elul, we begin another 40-day period. And this one is more well known. And those are the 40 days from Rosh Chodesh Elul through Yom Kippur. These are 40 days. And this is hinted to in the acronym for Elul. The first letters of the 4 words of Ani, Ledodi, Ledodi, Li, this spells out Elul. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. Again, this 40-day period is connected to this idea that 40 days before the conception of the fetus, a voice comes out of heaven, in a sense, matching souls together. So the 40 days, and we begin it with, I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. So this is a 40-day period. Where is it hinted to? If you look at the last letter of these 4 words, Ani, the last letter is a Yud, Ledodi, another Yud, Vidodi, another Yud, Li, a 4th Yud. Yud equals 10, 4 times 10 equals 40. And the last word, Li, Lamed equals 30, Yud equals 10. This hints to the 30 days of Elul and the 10 days of Tshuva. So this acronym goes with us for the next 40 days. It's a meditation that one could do every day for 40 days. Ani, Ledodi, Vidodi, Li. Then we have a cycle of 10 days. That is from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. Now that's part of the 40 days, but it has its own energy. This is called the Aseret Yemei Tshuva, the 10 days of Tshuva. And why this is very important is if a person's not careful, let's say we pour out our hearts on Rosh Hashanah and we just we're really there and everything. Well, it's very inspiring, but it's also somewhat tiring. And a lot of people, we finish with Rosh Hashanah, and then we kind of have a collective like, whew, and we don't realize we're only at the beginning of the 10 days of tshuva. Sometimes we think, we did it all on Rosh Hashanah, but what about the 10 days of tshuva? And then we go through those days, and then Erev Yom Kippur is like, oh, whoa, okay, Yom Kippur is here already. So I'm just saying that this is a 10-day cycle. It's a 10-day context in which we have to be very, very aware of continuing that energy from Rosh Hashanah. Okay, then we have a 7-day period. And that is the 7 days of Sukkot. And this becomes like a world in itself. When we finish Yom Kippur, we're done with the 40 days of tshuva, the 10 days of tshuva. We're done with the 40 days from Elul to Yom Kippur. We're done with the days from Tu B'Av till Rosh Hashanah. And then there's 4 days in between, and then we have 7 days of Sukkot. And there's a significance here because of the Ushpizim. Each day of Sukkot, we're inviting one of the Ushpizim, and each of the Ushpizim relates to one of the 7 lower Sfirot. And so the energy of the 7 lower Sfirot is very, very prevalent during Sukkot. And not only that, but every time we shake the lulav, we're shaking to 6 directions, but we're bringing it in each time. So that's the 7th. This is a whole teaching of its own. If anyone has the book from Rav Ginzburg, Living in Divine Space, there's an entire book about the meditative power of the 6 directions and the bringing it in to the heart. That would be a whole other subject. But my point is that this is an important cycle, the 7 days. It's not just like the first day of Sukkah, and then there's a second day of Sukkah, and then there's a third day of Sukkah. But because we're so focused on the Ushpizing of the day, each meal we invite Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. And each one of those is connected to the Sfirot. And when we're shaking lulav, we're very aware of the 6 directions and the 7th direction of bringing it into the heart. So that is a cycle in of itself. Now, I'm going to end with 2 bigger cycles, which has a beautiful hint to it. From Rosh Chodesh Elul until Hoshana Rabbah is 51 days. So what's the significance of that? So the 7th day of Sukkot has a special name to it, Hoshana Rabbah, because each day of Sukkot, except for Shabbat, even though we say, but we don't circle one time the Beit Knesset, and then on Hoshana Rabbah, we do 7 Hakafot, and then of course on Simchas Torah, again we do 7 Hakafot at night and 7 Hakafot in the morning. So on Hoshana Rabbah, Hoshana is what all of the Hakafot are enunciating. In other words, each one we go through the 22 letters, and there's different concepts and words for each of the letters. But each one we begin and end with Hoshana, please save. And we say it like many, many times on Hoshana Rabbah. Hoshana, Hoshana. So na, Hosha, it's actually two words. We say it as if it's one word, Hoshana, but it's really two words. Hosha, na, please save. Na means please. Please save. Na equals 51. So the 51st day after Rosh Chodesh Elul is Hoshana Rabbah. So it's a beautiful little hint there. And then the end of the whole cycle, because this is the biggest cycle. Even though we start with Rosh Chodesh Elul, but we don't really finish it until Simchas Torah. So the Simchas Torah, now this is in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, Shmini Atzeret and Simchas Torah is the same day. In Chutz La'aretz, it's 2 days. The first day is called Shmini Atzeret, and the second day of Chag is called Simchas Torah. But in Eretz Yisrael, where the holidays is the central focus. So what do we say before every Hakafa? Ana Hashem Hoshana Na. So we have the Hoshana, but we begin Ana Hashem, which also means please, but Ana equals 52, and Shmini Atzeret and Simchas Torah is this 52nd day. So here you have the big cycle from Rosh Chodesh Elul all the way through Simchas Torah is 52 days. And it's one continuum. It's one long continuum. So I skipped over one important cycle, and that we already learned last week, but I'm going to repeat it again, is that it's the 22-day cycle from Rosh Hashanah through Simchas Torah. It's exactly 22 days. And we learned that from Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, the fast day of the 17th of Tammuz, through Tisha B'Av, the fast day of the 9th of Av, is also 22 days. And we explained from the Slonim Rebbe, who said that the 22 days of Bein HaMetzarim, the 3 weeks, is when we draw the outline of the year. And the 22 days from Rosh Hashanah through Simchas Torah is when we color in the year. And 22, of course, are the 22 Hebrew letters. So here we learn something very important, that from Rosh Hashanah through Simchas Torah it's one flow. It's 22 days. It's from, like we say in English, from A to Z, from Aleph ad Tav. It's the whole cycle. And the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, the Zohar calls it Yoma D'Arichta, one long day. Even though it's 2 days, but the Zohar says Yoma D'Arichta, it's like one long day. But on a deeper level, and this is a very, very important statement, from Rosh Hashanah through Simchas Torah is like one long day. It's one day. And my next statement is very, very important. Many people, when we finish Yom Kippur, okay, we're done with Elul, we're done with Aseret Yemei Tshuva. Then we have a holiday called Sukkot. As if it's like a complete, that's just when the holiday is. That's a complete misnomer. The tshuva of Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur continues through Sukkot. And we know that because Hoshana Rabbah, the minhag in Hasidic communities, is many men wear their kittel again. We do the nusach of Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur. We do Psukei de Zimra as if it's a holiday. And there's a minhag in Babav that we learned and we do every year. Is when you finish each hakafa on Hoshana Rabbah, you blow the shofar to tie all of the holidays together. And that's why it's a teaching from the Nevi'im Harishonim, from the first prophets, that the final sealing does not happen on Yom Kippur, even though there is a certain type of sealing that happens at Ne'ilah, but we're told it's really on Hoshana Rabbah. So that means that during Sukkot, even though it's the days of our joy, it's Simcha Beta Shoeva, Zman Simcha Tenu, the days of our joy, but it's doing tshuva from Ahava, from Simcha. And it's brought down in all the Hasidic Svarim that the shaking lulav on Sukkot is in a sense deeper than the davening of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And that's the whole symbolism of we take it in our hands. In a sense, on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it's as if we're saying, God, everything is in your hands. I mean, we will do our tshuva, but our lives are in your hands. Our neshamas are in your hands. And Hasidus teaches it as if God says in Sukkot, that's true, but it's also in your hands. And that's the whole symbolism of taking lulav and etrog in our hands. And when we shake lulav and etrog, it's true, you can do the mitzvah in 1 minute. You could actually do it in 20 seconds. But this is one of the deepest davenings of the whole year is when shaking lulav, because it's in our hands. And what we do is we take all of our dreams, our New Year's resolutions, our hopes, our tshuva, our prayers from the beginning of Elul, and we take them into our hands. And when we shake out, it's like we have to put it into the world. And then we also have to draw the strength from Hashem to be able to do it. So this is, B'kitzur, the importance of these 22 days. That when we finish Yom Kippur, we're not done. We're not done. We're not done until the end of Simchat Torah. And in many places, Simchat Torah it's full of joy, but sometimes it gets very wild and, like turns into fun. But by the Hasidim, the dancing on Simchat Torah wasn't fun. It was like the deepest of the deep. Because what are you thinking about when you're dancing? This is the end of the 22 days. This is it. This is it. The year begins. So I want to end with a blessing that we're aware of this idea of living with the times. We do this through the whole year. We connect to the Parsha, we connect to whatever holiday is coming, but there's no doubt that this time of year, there is so many different parallel cycles that are happening that this is a good training for the rest of the year to realize that we have a cycle of 40, a cycle of 45, a cycle of 22, cycle of 7 weeks, 7 days, 51, 52. All of these are happening simultaneously, and they're all important, and they all can give us a deep context to the process of tshuva that we're going through. So I want to bless everyone with a Shana Tova, Ketiva v'Chatima Tova. Okay, so before we get to the chats and we open up, I I want to repeat because not everyone was here in the beginning. For the next 3 weeks, there will not be class on Tuesday. We will return after that. It will be like the week before Rosh Hashanah. We will return. But the subject material is up in the air. It might be that until we finish the Chagim, we'll stick with Seasons of the Soul. But in the new year, we will continue our Tuesday night classes. But I am looking for inspiration of something new for all of us. So you will get notices from Gali Nai that there will be no class, and then when the class will start again. And for those who get Or Chadash, you will get notifications. And those who come to the Sunday class, there will be classes on Sunday. Not that I'm favoring the Sunday class, but I'm going to pre-record those classes. So there will be, but it was just too much to do more than that. Okay, so I'm going to unmute everyone. Okay, people are unmuted. I just want to look at the chat. 1 second. I only see one here. This is from Ilana. Wait, hold on. Here we go. 1 second. What is the number of the capital? I don't know what you mean, Cody. I don't know what the number of the capital means. So Alana says, can we say perhaps that the first 22-day period over Tammuz Av is Hachna'ah, and the next 22 days from Rosh Hashanah is Havdalah? Okay, this is one of the many teachings I wanted to give over. This is from Rav Ginzburg. So he says, Chodesh Av is Hachna'ah. Well, actually, even starting in Tammuz, that the 3 weeks, the fast days, the destruction of the temple, all of that awakens in us what's called Hachna'ah, which is submission. This idea of feeling our existential lowliness, and especially because of Jewish history, feeling that. Elul, Rav Ginzburg says, this is Havdalah, because it's during Elul. Again, this is something that most people, it took me many years to understand this. The Ikar Tshuva should be happening in Elul, not between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Not that obviously it should happen on Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. But the whole idea is that we're given a whole month. That's why Sfardim do a whole month of Slichot. Ashkenazim do a minimum of 4 days. And if Rosh Hashanah comes out early in the week, we start the week before. But the idea is that the Ikar Tshuva should be happening in Elul. And then we go into Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Of course, we continue that Tshuva. But so many people, in a sense, squander Elul, and as it were, the court case is Rosh Hashanah already. If someone has a court case where their life is on the line, would they wait to the day that the case opens to start preparing their defense? No one would do that. Everyone would get a lawyer 6 months before and prepare their case. And when you go into court, you have your case. That's the image of Rosh Hashanah, is the court case, as it were. It's just an image. And then Tishrei is the Hamtaka. But we could do it in a different way. So Av is submission. Elul is Havdalah, which means separation. We're separating the old from the new, the unrectified from the rectified, what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. That's where the Havdalah happens. And the Hamtakah, the sweetening, is the standing before God from Rosh Hashanah through Simchas Torah. Now, in a smaller sense, we could say that from Rosh Hashanah is hachna'ah, is submission. All Malchut Shemayim, taking God as king, coronating God as king of the universe, submitting to the rule of the king. From Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur, this is a whole teaching from the Arizal. This is what's called the Nesirah. This is the separation. And I'll explain in a second. And then Sukkot already is the sweetening, is the Hamtakah. But I want to explain this Nesirah. So the Arieh explains like this. The sixth day of Rosh Hashanah is the creation of Adam. Rosh Hashanah is the sixth day of creation. That's when Adam is created. Adam is created male and female. And so the Arieh gives, these are all images, these are all symbols, but they're so potent, meaningful. So he says on Rosh Hashanah, when we first approach God, we're as if we're like Adam and Chava, we're back to back. From Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur is called the Nesirah. This is the separation of Chava from Adam. Between Yom Kippur and Sukkot is what the Arieh calls when Adam and Chava turn towards each other. Sukkot is called hugging. We're in the sukkah, we're like being hugged, enveloped by, surrounded by, like a hug, by the sukkah. Hoshana Rabbah is called kissing. And Simchas Torah is called the Cheder Yichud, the wedding. I did that very, very quickly, but this is a very awesome paradigm from the Arieh. I'll go over it again very, very quickly. At Rosh Hashanah, we're as is back to back with Hashem. A relationship is as if back to back. And that's when we call out with the shofar from the bottom of our hearts, Hashem, we want to be close to you. Hashem, we want to love you, and we want to feel loved by you. From Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur is the difficult work of separating. This is the Havdalah, the separating, again, like we talked about Elul, of what's permitted, what's not permitted, what's fixed, what's not fixed. All of the separations that we have to make in our lives. And then on Yom Kippur, the actual separation happens, which is a good thing, because then between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, the two turn towards each other and face each other. We're now facing Hashem, as it were. And then on Sukkot, because the Schach is the image of the Shekhinah, the wings of the Shekhinah we're being enveloped, hugged, surrounded by. Hoshana Rabbah is like kissing. And there's a great hint there, because on Hoshana Rabbah, at a certain point, we put down the Arba meaning and we only use the willows. And remember, the willows are shaped like the lips. So Hoshana Rabbah is called kissing, meaning we're getting closer and closer and closer to Hashem. And then Shmini Atzeret, Simchas Torah, is the unification, is the union of the soul with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that, I'm sorry, that took a long time, but that, Alana, that was an answer to Hachna'ah, Havdalah, and Hamtakah. Okay, Diane says, thank you and Lashana Tova Matuka. It's not unmuted. Are people unmuted? Maybe I didn't. I tried to. I'll do it again. No, let me see. Hold on. Can anyone there? Yeah, I allowed people to unmute themselves. So no. Oh, I hear someone. That means I unmuted people. Okay, so now anyone has questions, comments, wants to add anything, share something? Toby, did you raise your hand? Okay, can you unmute yourself? No, I don't know why. Who spoke before? They were unmuted. Alana, are you unmuted? So Toby, it's from your side. Other people are unmuted. Okay.
Hi, Rabbi.
Oh, okay. I think you're unmuted.
We're unmuted now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Toby, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just let me just get this out of the way because excuse me, I don't know how to put it out of the way. Oh, close. Okay. Yeah, no, I actually that was what I was going to ask you about, that the whole Joshua, the explanation that you just gave over, I heard many years ago from Yehuda Soshnevsky. So I was going to ask you to give it over how the time period is also like the relationship,
Okay, so I did that.
Yeah, I know. Just anyway, I wanted to say thank you. And you're going to be away now for the next 3 weeks?
Yes, the next 3 weeks, yes.
Okay, thank you. Yisher koach.
Okay. Anyone else? Alana, I think you're talking, but I can't hear you.
What's the significance of being back to back on Rosh Hashanah?
I think there has to be a starting point. And that's a good question because there is that aspect on Rosh Hashanah. There is that aspect of starting the 10 days of tshuva, feeling our finiteness in relationship to an infinite creator. But again, because that's the day that Adam and Chava are created, I think what the Ari was trying to give over is a process here of going from back to back to not only face to face, but to an intimate relationship. And so that's how he played it out in relationship to the holidays. From back to back, the Nesira, the separation, the turning towards each other, and then getting more and more intimate. It's a very, very powerful imagery, very powerful imagery. Yes, Toby. No, you're not unmuted. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Brock, are you also can't unmute?
Oh, now I got a message
Now we
saying
do. Now we do.
Okay.
I'm delayed.
Okay, I'm not really the host here. I just act like it, but I'm not.
So what you were just talking about the Nesira, how they start out back to back according the Arizal, how is that related to the Chruvim? Because it sounds just like the Chruvim.
Yeah, that's an idea where when, as it were, relations between us and Hashem are good, they're face to face. And when they're not, the Kruvim turn back to back. It's similar. I mean, there's no doubt that the two Kruvim on a certain level represent Adam and Chava
Really?
before the Chet.
Oh.
It's also Hashem and Israel. But it's also Adam and Chava before the Chet, in a state of innocence. Okay, anyone else?
Could it be like being carried? Could it possibly be like we start off being carried, then we take more responsibility as it goes on?
That's a very good way to put it, because that's the whole. It's more than okay. That's how we have to do the mitzvah of arba, meaning we have to pick them up in our hands. But the idea that we're doing the mitzvah with our hands is highly significant. And yes, on Rosh Hashanah again, it's like Hashem. It's like the whole world is in your hands.
So Hashem recreates us, and then we have to take our responsibility after a
Yes,
while.
exactly. That's why, there's this concept of like having, you'll use the word favorite, but it means more than favorite, but there's this concept of having your favorite mitzvah, a mitzvah that you feel really connected with. And a lot of people have that. Certain, whatever it is, they're just the mitzvah that moves them. So like my mitzvah is shaking lulav. That's the mitzvah that really moves me. And but by all the big rebbes, they would shake for half an hour, hours every day, shaking lulav. But it wasn't they were just it was like, what's the kavanah? What are they thinking about? But it's all the symbolism of shaking lulav is just so awesome. If anyone has my book, Seasons of the Soul, so in the section of Sukkot, I kind of expand greatly on the meaning of shaking lulav and what we could be thinking about during it. And also probably on my website, if you go to articles about Sukkot, you will find a much deeper explanation, which it would be too much for right now. But when you read this, you can understand how someone could take an hour to shake lulav. It's very, very specific kavanot of what to be thinking. Now, I'm not talking about like super mystical. It's actually quite practical, very, very practical. So hopefully people could, if anyone can't find it, you can write me and I'll send you the link. If anyone can't find it, write me. All of you can always write me, rabbi@thetrugmans.com. I'll send you a link to, because it would be too much to attempt it now. I would, even if I did it in short, I would feel like I'm cutting out like too much. Okay.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yes. Who's speaking?
This is David. Deacon.
Okay.
You may have answered this, or you might not be able to answer this, but I got a little distracted for a while. You've brought us to the point of the union, and you've said that this time of shaking the lulav, you can have such kavanah. What is is there a simple way to describe the winter? That it's leading us to this point of union and this wonderful season of Sukkot. What is that setting us up for? How could we describe this whole time of year? I know we can go month by month, and you have, but is there a way to describe the whole until Passover?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's a very, very good question. But really, the answer is quite simple, and it follows from the whole idea of taking the Arba meaning in our hands. Because, in other words, from Rosh Hashanah through Simchas Torah, from Aleph ad Tav, those 22 days, this is the seed of the year. And then when we come out of Simchas Torah, it's as if, even though the new year, of course, is Rosh Hashanah, but like here in Israel, for example, the expression that everyone uses for everything is after the Chagim. It's because it's like a world of itself. From Rosh Hashanah through Simchas Torah, it's like kind of like out of time and space. It's like a world of itself. And when you go out of that bubble, then it's time to put everything into practice. That is, from there until Pesach, it's all about, I just davened all of Elul, all of Rosh Hashanah, all of Yom Kippur, all of Simchas Torah. So I have a great way to explain it. The Baal Shem Tov on Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeret, we stopped saying Morid HaTal, who makes the dew fall, and we start saying Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGeshem, the one who makes the wind blow and the rain to descend. So this is one of my favorite stories. The Baal Shem Tov, when he would say it, he would go like this, Mashiv HaRuach, with his hand. He would go, Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGeshem. So everyone thought that he was acting out the words. Mashiv HaRuach is like this. He makes the wind to blow. Morid HaGeshem, bring down the rain. But the Baal Shem said, no, I had a different kavanah. He said like this. Now, the word for wind in Hebrew is ruach, and the word for spirituality is ruchaniut. Comes from the word as wind, spirit, ruchniut. And the word in Hebrew for material reality, physicality, is gashmiut, which comes from the word geshem, which means rain. So the Baal Shem explained like this. He went like this. Enough of this spirituality. It's time to bring down into physical reality. That is from the end of Simchas Torah to Pesach. That's what it's all about. Is, in other words, we're davening. I want to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be better. I'm going to accomplish this. I'm going to change. But when do we do it? From after Simchas Torah until Pesach, and continuing really, and really continue. Pesach is now another rebirth in a sense. So that is a long answer, but this teaching from the Baal Shem Tov is just so perfect to answer that question. That it's time to put it into reality, to make it real. And that's when we're shaking lulav. When we shake out, we're trying to put into reality. Again, it depends on what we're thinking. You can shake like this and not think anything. But we're taught that you're putting your thoughts into the world. As you're shaking out, you're putting your thoughts which will turn into actions into the world. That's the main thing. Judaism, Torah is all about making reality better. It's not trying to escape reality, but trying to rectify reality.
Would you say we're forming a baby within us, and that baby is our own next version of ourselves?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is one of my favorite images. It's not only that God is giving birth to the world again, we're giving birth to ourselves. That is really what's happening on Rosh Hashanah. We're giving birth to ourselves, and giving birth is not an easy process. It's not, and some people even relate the sounds of the shofar to the birth pangs of giving birth to ourselves. These are the birth pangs. This is like the cry of the soul in preparation for giving birth to ourselves again.
Well, I don't want to get you bogged down too much, but you're saying birth on Rosh Hashanah, but you're also saying birth on Passover. So my thought was that in this dark period of the winter, we are forming a child within ourselves, which is the next version of ourselves. But I don't know, maybe that's neither here nor there. There are two births?
Yes, there are. That's why Rosh Hashanah is the new year of years. Nisan is the new year of months. There are two births every year. There's two different levels of rebirth. For sure. And that's why there's a machloket in the Gemara. When was the world created? In Tishrei or Nisan? There's a huge discussion in the Torah. And there is no conclusion in the Gemara, but it's understood by later commentaries that they're both true. There's two different levels of creation, two different levels of rebirth. And that's why we have two different New Years, one of years and one of months.
Thank you.
The sun and the moon, all of that kind of imagery. Okay, anyone else?
Can I ask a question about the 7 gates of the
Yes.
on the face? It seems that we protect our ears, nose, and eyes, but how do we protect our nose? Like, our nose doesn't seem to get us into much trouble.
Well, because we have two nostrils.
But it doesn't seem to get us into trouble as much as others.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but you know the expression, this doesn't smell good, right? Or
So maybe it's intuition.
yeah, this situation stinks. We use these expressions because you're right, it's about deep intuition that it's not like seeing, it's like, it's almost deeper. It's like we smell something not right here. And as we can't put our finger on it, it might look good, it might taste good, but our intuition is saying there's something not right here. So I'm just giving over the Hasidus, talks about the 7 openings of the face are the 7 gates through which the soul communicates. Like we said, that the soul has 3 garments: thought, speech, and action. And in one way or another, they're all coming through the gates of the face. Okay, I think we're towards the end here. I appreciate so much people staying on and participating. And I'm looking forward to a new year. Actually, I think it's good that I don't know yet what I want to do. I think though, I'm not sure, but maybe we will continue through the Chagim. Not sure. And then we'll start something different. Whatever it is, hopefully it will be good. And hopefully everyone will be there.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
bye
you.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
Have a great summer. Have a great Elul. And Bezrat Hashem, we will all have a very, very good year, a productive year, a year of health, of joy, of tikkun, of everything that we need, everything that we want.
Amen.
להתראות.
להתראות. Thank you. Okay. All right then. Oh.
I don't know. What's wrong with Dave?
Why?
Well,
First of all, please tell me, I made a commitment. I don't know why. Do we have Likutei Torah? I think I had 4 volumes downstairs. I can't find them.
what are you looking for?
Likutei Torah
Likutei Torah? In
Yeah.
what language?
in English. Forget. I had.
I don't know. I know I didn't bring him up here.
No, you don't have anything here, right? Likutei Torah.
I wouldn't usually put the English Likutei
I
Torah.
know. Okay.
Well,
And
so, Dave isn't entirely normal, but
what do you mean normal? Okay, whatever.
mentally.
Why do
I
you say
didn't
that?
realize that there might be something ominous about him.
Why do you say that? Okay. So tell me what.
So we learn every day for an hour. And
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I asked him a few times already, how much do I owe you? I want to pay you what I owe you.
Yeah.
He'll just ignore it. And I said,
Yeah, I know you haven't been paying him. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So
So I keep asking him, he
Yeah.
keeps ignoring it.
okay.
You know,
For at
so
least 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
what are you talking about? It's months.
Man. Okay,
Months.
so now what?
I don't know, but he's still ignoring it.
Yes, okay.
And so he said, well, I can buy it, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
baloney.
Yeah.
He's starting this. So why is he doing this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you don't care when he
Right.
tells you what? You give him the money. So don't forget it. Forget it.
Anyway, so now he asked me, the receipt from the bank. He wants a copy of the receipt from the bank.
What receipt of the bank?
But for the past,
I send it to him.
well, he said it turned out blue on his.
What?
Calm down.
I can't hear. It turned blue.
He says it's not good because it's blue.
Okay, all right.
How is it blue? It's not a color picture.
Okay, whatever.
I don't know. So I say I don't know what's going
Well,
on.
maybe I didn't send it right. It's not important, especially now. So what?
I don't know.
So he wants me to send it again. Okay, I have it. I'll send it again. Bli neder.
Yeah.
Okay. So what? So now what do I do with this woman? I don't have. I committed to this woman to learn Likutei Torah. the song Shir Hashirim. I don't know why. I do this and I want to do this and I want to do that and I have no time and I have no energy.
You don't have any Likutei Torah in English?
I do. Where are they? I can't find them. I can't find them. It's not here. So what do I do with
Are
her
they on
now?
the higher shelves downstairs?
I don't know. Okay,
Maybe-
now we have to eat.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
I really-
Forget Dave. He wants another picture. I'll send another picture. You don't have to play, you know? That's the way he is. That's the way he is. Okay.
All right.